Hi, I think I'm live. Because I didn't see the comments last time, even though I'm supposed to over here on my computer. I've got my iPad here, so I'm just going to check to see that I can see the comments as they come up on my iPad. Let's go live. Yep, I'm here. Okay. So, thank you for coming. I'm sorry that I had to postpone it from yesterday. My name is Cassandra Marcella Metzger. I'm the founder of Wellspring Stones, and I am a yoga therapist, a writer, a teacher, an educator. And I help women redesign their lives so they can have more beauty and meaning and joy in their lives despite illness. So I'm really excited about today's talk. I hope you stay tuned till the end because I have a special offer that I want to tell you about. So, stay to the end. I also have some recommendations at the end that I want to share with you. I have a blog post that I've written that also includes an interview with Sydney Lester of Chic Stripes, who's going to be running her virtual style camp. I think starting April 1st, so the doors are open now. I've been in her style camp since the first round. And that was sort of for me the culmination of a slow waking up to this as a topic that was important and why it was important. I'll be honest, when I first got sick, I had other priorities. I was scrambling and didn't really think about this at all, this subject about style or my wardrobe. It just seemed like that was something that was very frivolous. But now 20 years in, kind of waking up to it. And again, it's been about a year-long process, and I highly recommend you check out that blog post, the 30-minute interview that I did with Sydney. We talk about 5 different obstacles for women that are living with illness and kind of how to sidestep them rather than overcome them, because I think overcoming is not always possible, but just sort of workarounds. But today I'm going to try to be more positive. Rather than talking about obstacles, I'm going to give you some recommendations proactively about things that you can do if you're interested in the subject and you live with illness. So the 4 things are ease, 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 and different ways to make your life easier with your wardrobe. For the most part, we can't walk around naked all the time. 2 is to be realistic. 3, be kind. And 4, to honor your feelings. So we're going to go through those one by one. So if you have any comments, I'll be looking down. If I look down, it's because I'm looking at my iPad right here. See? Technology is amazing. To see if any of you have any comments. I hope you do. This is something that I think is a dialogue. I don't know everything. I'm interested in your thoughts and your recommendations as well. So I hope, even if you're watching this later, that you have any thoughts, that you'll leave them in the comments. Okay, so let's get started. So ease, ease, ease. This is so important. I made it number 1. And it means different things to different people. For me, ease was first and foremost getting my closet down to a size where I didn't have to switch it over for the season, because I was not feeling well to do that in a timely fashion. And so it would be warm out and I wouldn't have my warm clothes down. They'd be up high on the shelf. I couldn't climb up and down to get them. Or it would start to get cold in the fall and all my warm sweaters or my coats were, put away and I couldn't get them down. So over the last year, except for my shoes, still haven't gotten my shoes down. I still have to switch my shoes around. But I've gotten my wardrobe down to where I have a 1-season wardrobe. And that makes my life so much easier. I do not have to think about it like I used to, or feel bad about the fact that I wasn't doing the switchover in a timely fashion. So that's one aspect of it. The other thing is actually, too, I've paid more attention to the fabric of my clothes, both for how they feel on my body, but also how to take care of them. Because I don't have the income that I used to before I got sick, I do not buy dry clean only clothes very often, except for maybe, nighttime wear or cocktail wear, which I don't have that much of, to be honest. But I just don't buy dry clean only things anymore because that is a strain for me. That's not easy. So I pay attention to that. I also, and this is sort of related to the closet switching over, less is more. That's true for everybody, and a lot of this stuff is true for everybody. It's just that when you're chronically ill, making things easy is even more important because we've got other priorities that we have to worry about, like, figuring out our meals, or figuring out how we're going to shower some days. So, to the extent that you can get your wardrobe, pared down and made easier, make your decisions easier, that's very, very helpful. And it has, or at least it has been for me. For me too, space equals possibility. So to the extent that I have room in my closet, when I go into my closet in the morning, I feel like the decisions are easier for me when I have fewer items, and that there's a possibility for change as well. So, yeah, that's it. Oh, one more thing. I also recommend, and for the sake of ease, that you do, be, and wear what you love. Coco Chanel broke us out of the corsets. I do not think that she did that so that we would be restricted by fashion trends or by expectations on social media. So I believe in doing what's easy for you, doing what makes you feel beautiful, what makes you feel well, and to keep it easy. Number 2, is to be realistic. So this one is kind of hard. Speaking of Coco Chanel, she really believed in being in the moment. She did not have a longing for the past or any nostalgia, and part of that was because her childhood and her young adulthood was no walk in the park. Now, for us, our current situation is no walk in the park. So we might default to romanticizing, when we were healthy and able and could, think about our wardrobes and have the luxury of going out shopping without feeling physically exhausted and in bed for days afterwards. But I encourage you to be realistic with where you are, because it helps you to celebrate and be in the moment. Means that it would otherwise be a greater source of mystery. If you can't be happy with where you are and you're only thinking about the past, you're like discriminating against the past and discriminating against the future, recriminating about the past and discriminating against the future. Embracing the moment means embracing where you are at this moment. So, for me, that was coming to terms with some weight gain and, not wearing sweatpants all the time, but actually buying jeans that were a size larger, because that's just where I was right now. And yes, it was painful to admit that I am not the size that I used to be, or the size that I would want to be. But by embracing it, I actually could dress in a way that was where I am now and make me feel beautiful even as I am. Also, in terms of being realistic, my mother, honest to God, there are some days where I spend the entire day in the clothes that I slept in. I do try to do what my grandfather taught me, which was to do the sailor bath, which was basically going to the sink and washing your face and washing your armpits and maybe your crotch. My mother's version of that was the 4 F's: fingers, face, feet, and fanny. But I always would try to change at least out of my pajamas and into something that felt fresh. And that was a way of countering the narrative of feeling useless and worthless because of my disease. I can't get out of bed. I can't do anything. My existence is meaningless. But if I would take time and take care of doing something nice for myself and paying attention to how I looked, even if I was the only one who was going to see the reflection in the mirror, was a way of counterbalancing that narrative of worthlessness and uselessness. So that's another aspect that I would encourage you to do. I remember when I got rid of my suit jackets, and that was a big deal because it meant that I probably wasn't going to go back to a 9-to-5 job working as a lawyer. And, I traded those in for robes, and I got some nice robes, very comfy robes. And, now when I wrap myself in them, I feel, enveloped in love, self-love that I have for myself. So, I hung on to those jackets probably longer than I should have because I was in a state of denial about what was really going on. But by accepting where I was and being realistic in the moment, I ended up making myself happier. And know that it's a process. Again, dealing with accepting this is a process. It's an emotional process. Getting your wardrobe down to size is a process. Like I said, I've been in Sydney style camp for a year. I'm still not where I want to be. I have not yet gone through my shoes and consolidated those, as I mentioned. I also have a ridiculous number of coats for somebody who never goes out. It's kind of stupid and hilarious how many coats I have for somebody that usually spends weeks at a time not leaving her apartment. You know, but you go slow as you can. And the other thing too, in terms of being realistic, is money. You know, I don't spend money like I used to on my clothes, and that's also hard for sure. But you know, one of the things I learned from Sydney was a lot of these direct-to-consumer sites like Evergreen, where you could still get good quality clothes and they wouldn't cost as much. So those are a couple of points that I wanted to make. Be present in the moment. Know that it's a process. Accept where you are. Go slow, and save whatever money you need. It doesn't have to be expensive. You know, style does not need to be expensive. Okay, the next one, which is sort of related to being realistic, is to be kind. This shit is emotional, and it brings up riptides of emotions like, you know, anger and sadness and memories and regret that we are not like we used to be. It might be wise, I know it was for me, why you avoid this subject for a while, because it's so painful. You realize that, you know, you're not going to go to that office again, or that you have gained weight. So you just sort of, you know, avoid the topic altogether. I know, for example, too, I know whether or not I've had a good day or a good week or a bad week, whether or not there are gym clothes in my laundry. You know, so that can be a constant reminder, you know, of what you're wearing is what your state of your life is. So you gotta focus on being kind. There's a book that was gonna recommend at the end called The Kindness Method. This is something I learned about on a podcast. It's actually not available yet in the United States. I bought it on Amazon. It was sent to me from Great Britain, and I'll put the podcast link below. But part of what she talks about is how important the inner narrative is in terms of sticking to whatever habits that you want to start, or trying to lose weight, or just trying to cope with the state of your life right now. And what I really liked about it was how she focused on how the story we tell ourselves about why we are where we are really matters. There's also a woman named Sarah Jenks who did a online course called Live More, Weigh Less. And the basic theme of that course was, don't wait to live your best life until you lose the weight. If you live your best life now, you're telling yourself that you're worth it, and then those other things kind of resolve themselves. You want to get, you know, out of that negative feedback loop. So I recommend both the book and just check out Sarah Jenks. She's a little bit moved on from that course. She's now doing a whole woman online thing, which is also fun. So second thing in the area of be kind is to focus on your strengths. Focus on what you love. I've taken to wearing t-shirts that have positive messages. I've got a t-shirt that says infinite because it reminds me that I am more than my body. I have a t-shirt that says love triumphs in French because I want to remind myself when I look in the mirror that ultimately that's all that matters. I have another one that I just got last week called High Heels, High Office, to remind myself of that ambition is okay for women. So, you know, focus on doing and wearing the things that make you feel good, and to pay attention to that. Let's see, the other thing in terms of paying attention is to check your gut, because it'll tell you different things maybe than what conventional wisdom is. So here's an example. When I moved 10 years ago into this apartment, it's interesting, when you move, you sort of see things with a fresh eye. I was shocked that my entire wardrobe was black at 10 years ago. And I thought to myself immediately that that represented mourning to me. You know, as I'd gotten rid of my suits, which I had, all that black in my closet represented like boringness and how black I was, how black my wardrobe was. Hang on, Tracy just made a comment. It's great styles. Oh, that's good. Oh, I didn't know that. Lounging wardrobe is something I'm very focused on. There's a website called Hatched that has great, comfortable clothes for pregnant women, which I sometimes spy on. I think there needs to be like a special lounging wardrobe for women with illness. I think like so that we can all pretend that we're 1940s movie stars lounging on our chaise lounge, and they can do like bedrobes and stuff like that. Right? Yeah, super great. So now, for some reason, I don't have to look down at my iPad. The comments are coming up here. So thanks for tuning in, Tracy. Oh, I know what I was going to say. But black to me meant mourning. But 80 years ago, when I was in college, everybody wore black, and it wasn't mourning. It was countercultural because it was in the 80s when everything was loud and very colorful. So having a wardrobe of all black was considered very chic. So my point is not that black is good or bad. It's check your gut to see what it's telling you and honor those feelings about whatever it is that you pay attention to, or you know what your emotional reaction is to the clothes, so that you can really feel your best whatever you decide to wear. Okay, the last of the 4 is to honor how you feel, which is sort of related to what I was just talking about. I talked about Sarah Jenks, don't wait to live fully as you can now, and upgrade your lounge wardrobe. I'm definitely going to be checking out H&M. I just bought a jumpsuit. I talked about this in Sydney's in conversation with Sydney, but the jumpsuit I'm wearing, number one, feels comfortable, but I feel like a California chic lady lounging around her apartment when I wear that. It's like a big comfy romper, and I wear that a lot between washes, especially on days when I'm not feeling well, because I love the way that I feel in it, not just because it's comfy, but because I feel like it's kind of fashionable at the moment. I also think that it's important I do believe that how you feel can affect how you feel. I want to be careful about what I say here. This is not to say that, that you can decide your way out of your illness, that you can not to honor the choiceless agony of whatever it is that you're living with. But I do believe that when I have a little bit of energy, and I can put a little bit of energy to how I feel, and I can upgrade that a little bit, whether that's washing my face or curling my hair or changing my sleep clothes into lounge clothes for the day, that can counteract the narrative in your head again that you're worthless. Because if you take the time to do that for yourself, again, even if you're the only one you're doing it for, is a different story about the hydra monster of your symptoms popping up all the time, that you're worth getting dressed up for. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that too, that you're worth this kind of attention, even if we don't all have queer eyes, fairy god brothers coming into our lives to renovate them. It's a very seductive myth, Cinderella, and there's a reason for that. Okay, so let me go over some recommendations as we finish up here. I don't want to go on too long. I woke up to this very slowly, like I said, and Sydney was the culmination. I think it started when I discovered this website called Garance Doré. She's a French woman, about a decade younger than I am. And what I mostly loved about her site was how beautiful it was. I had so much ugliness in my life. I liked just escaping online, and her site was just beautifully laid out. But she was a fashion photographer. That's kind of what she did for a living. And so she would talk about fashion as well as lifestyle. And so that started to wake me up to this subject and my interest in it again. So she's one website that I would recommend. Another one that I would recommend is Violet Grey. They are trying to sell things, so on their editorial side. And not all their stuff is ridiculously expensive, but they have some pretty neat articles and videos that I find both aspirational and inspirational and mostly doable. So that's 2 websites that I would recommend. For YouTube channels, I've got 3 to recommend. There's Lisa Eldridge, who is a makeup artist in England. Although she travels all around the world, her YouTube videos are incredible. And so fair warning, it's a rabbit hole. I love particularly how down to earth she is, and everything is very doable. And she's definitely upped, my game when, I started to want to put on makeup again and start to try to look pretty again. So I recommend her. She's got one about like how to recover after you've been crying all night because your boyfriend was an asshole, or if you're going to meet your boyfriend again. And I like that one especially because you know, I cry for lots of reasons, not having to do with boys anymore, but mostly with my health. So it would show me how I could, you know, do my makeup in a way that would wake up my face and maybe not make it look as weary and as sad as the emotions that I'd been feeling. So, okay, Lisa Eldridge is one. Another one that I love is Camille Coelho. She's a Brazilian young lady. She's got really good hair videos. Her makeup is a little over the top for me, but I love her hair videos. And I learned how to use a flat iron to curl my hair and sort of beachy wavy curls from her. So YouTube's a great resource. And then the last one that I'll mention is the one channel, I think it's on YouTube, it's just called Rosie Inc., but it's Rosie Huntington Whiteley. And she also has some great beauty videos. I learned how to do my top knot from her. I think her most recent one is about some finds on Amazon. So cost effective, easy stuff to do. And then I have 3 books. So the first one was the one that I mentioned already, The Kindness Method, this says changing your habits for good, but it's really about the inner narrative and why you are worth it, to remind yourself why you're worth it. The second one, which is something I was quoting from, is The Gospel According to Coco Chanel, which I've read the whole thing. It's really great. She's got good life wisdom in there as well, and all about like not following rules, which I think is very important. And then the last book, which I love as well, is The Power of Glamour by Virginia Postrel. And the subtitle is Longing and the Art of Visual Persuasion. I can't remember if I said at the beginning, like Elizabeth Holmes, not the So Many Thoughts About the Royal Wedding, which, by the way, if you're not following her on Instagram, I highly recommend, because she will comment on the fashion of the mostly Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton, but the other Elizabeth Holmes, who was, you know, featured in the Theranos scandal, who started that. And I haven't seen the HBO documentary yet. I know Tracy has, I haven't seen it yet, but I was listening to a podcast, and on the podcast it was talking about how nobody was taking her seriously, and she was wearing these ugly Christmas sweaters, and then she was very much enamored with Apple, and so she decided to emulate Steve Jobs, and so she started wearing like the black turtlenecks and everything, and everybody started taking her seriously and thought she was a wizard once she started wearing the black turtlenecks, which I thought was hilarious. So just wanted to, you know, to mention that. Oh, The Inventor's the name. Thank you. Yes, of the HBO documentary. Yeah, so I didn't want to watch it and get depressed about evil people getting ahead, but now I'm feeling better. Maybe I can dive into that sometime soon. Thank you for reminding me what it's called. Yeah, so I think that's it. So I wanted to mention at the end that Sydney has offered any of my clients, any of my viewers or people on my mailing list, a 20-minute free session to discuss her style camp. So if it's something that you might be interested in, she'd be happy to talk to you about that or about anything else that you'd like to talk about with respect to your style. She said to me, actually, that she too sometimes thought that the work that she was doing was frivolous until I talked to her and told her how much it made me feel better about myself, starting to pay attention to this, and how very helpful that she was in terms of showing me both tricks of the eye and different resources, and how returns have changed since I, used to be a healthy person, and how much easier they've become, which has eliminated the need necessarily for me to have to go shopping on huge excursions and getting exhausted. So I highly recommend that you take advantage of that. You can find out how to do that by going to the blog post or just commenting here. I can get you in touch with her on how to do that. Again, her style camp, I think, starts on April 1st. But I hope that this is a conversation that can continue, because I think that it's really important and it's really made a difference in my life. And I hope that it can for you. We don't all have the Queer Eye Fairy God brothers to come and help us reinvent ourselves. But, that's also a reminder that everybody at different times kind of loses themselves. It's not just because you're sick. And, people who aren't sick also have cluttered and disorganized lives in other ways too, not just with their wardrobes. So, don't be too hard on yourself. And to the extent that you want to start this process and wake up and be more mindful, I'm here to support you and to answer any questions that I can or point you to any resources that I know of. And I would love to do that. I hope you all have a great day. It's finally spring. I just want to leave you, like I did last week, with a little bit of a prayer from my favorite Celtic devotional. Even though it's not Wednesday, it's Thursday. I'm going to read you. I'm going to read you the one for Thursday. So, I make the encircling of the many-colored winds, the black wind of the cold north, the pale green of southwest, the red wind of southeast, and the gray wind of the northwest, the purple wind of the sharp east, the clear wind of the dear west, the speckled wind of the northeast, and the white wind of the warm south, and the yellow of the veering wind. The encompassment of the winds protect and surround me on this spring day. May the blessing of the stream of inspiration and the fount of insight attend to me on the way that I go. So I hope this inspired you as you go. All that talk about winds makes me think of Game of Thrones and the winds of Games of Thrones. All right, I'm actually going to be talking about that coming up, not this next week, but the week after, the week before the premiere. We're going to be talking about disability in the Game of Thrones series. So if that's something that interests you, stay tuned. All right, thanks for tuning in. Have a good afternoon.